Welcome to The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. Host Randy Chevrier and Sheldon Napastka guide you through great stories that spark great conversations. Two really big guys talking a big game. The boys are locked in and ready to go. Welcome to The Ride.
Somewhat locked in and somewhat ready to go. I'm Chevy, and one half of The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. And yes, Rubio, it is showtime. I'm Randy Chevrier. My partner tonight, as you know, Sheldon Napastka, Nasty. He's feeling under the weather. So I'm going to be handling this one mostly solo. Again, for those of you joining us, thank you for being here. And I see that Trey's trying to figure out how to make my head not so big because I look huge. But we're brought to you every week by Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, and YYC Business. Now, when we talk about this show, this is show number 60. So we've been doing this for 60 episodes. We started a year ago, actually tabulating episodes. And on our 60th episode, there are some famous people that played sports. One of them would be Trey. Can you put that slide up for me? I want to know some of the famous number 60. So one of them is a teammate of mine. Shane Bergman played with him. Well, he played for the Stamps for 5 years. Humongous individual. I'm going to go through another couple of Stampeders for our local guys here. Samir Shaheen, former college teammate of mine, played with the Stamps. He wore number 60 for 5 years. Dan Comiskey, another great teammate. Bruce Coverington, we talked about him. Big Tuna passed away last year, unfortunately. And yours truly, me, Randy Chevrier, actually wore number 60. That was my first number that I wore for the Calgary Stampeders. So number 6, and then Jose Theodore, I believe he split the Hart Trophy with Jerome Ginla. So there's a Calgary connection there as well. They split the Hart Trophy for most valuable player in the NHL. I see a lot of you joining us. So I'm going to give a little quick shout out to Bruno, Daryl. Daryl's in Tennessee. Daryl's flew out to Tennessee. He's got some business out in Tennessee. Shows up to his room tonight, and I think he's in someone else's room. Daryl, we hope that Chris doesn't come back. Just want to know if you're the big spoon or the little spoon tonight. I hope you got your own room. But we're excited. I'm excited to do the show tonight. As always, I miss my buddy. So Sheldon, I know you're listening, and I hope you feel better, because about 2 hours ago we spoke and you were just getting hit with that bug. Thought you'd be able to pull it through, but you're going to sit this one out. You missed the team bus. You watch it from home. But Trey, let's hit the 300-pound poetry. Let's get this rolling in style.
And now, 300-pound poetry with Chevy and Nasty.
We are the 300-pound poets. We are back on the grind. Like Kelsey and Mahomes, no better duo you'll find. The Bills fought hard, but in the end they were beat. That's 4 in a row at the hands of the Chiefs. But amid much controversy, could the refs be on the fix? Or was it just poor execution that kept the Bills from reaching the stakes? And in the National Conference, the Eagles soared once more as the Commanders' best efforts were not reflected in the score. A replay of the Super Bowl between KC and Philly to suggest that it would be according to some sort of script is just plain silly. With Nasty under the weather, the show is still a go. It's The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. He's here in spirit. But this time, I'm going solo. So I'm going solo tonight. We had lots of plans, and I think, I don't want to listen to me talk for another hour, and I know you don't. And I think there's no better way than to, when you're a leader, you got to plan for succession planning. I'm not going to be here forever. Sheldon's not going to be here forever. And you got to make sure that you have a plan for the next generation to step in and to lead. And sometimes, when a star player goes down, someone steps off the bench and they perform. And I think tonight we're going to have to give young Trey, producer Trey, an opportunity to shine. Now, Trey, can you step in on the show? Can you step in? I think it's your time to shine, because I don't want to go solo. Well, now you erased me. I guess I'm not. Oh, there you go. How come we're so big?
Oh,
there you go.
there we go. How's it going, Randy?
Good. Welcome to the show, Trey. Obviously, you're on the show every week, and we get you on once in a while. But tonight you're riding shotgun. We put Sheldon in the trunk, and you're riding shotgun. Now, listen, you don't really know where we're going, and I don't know where we're going because it's the ride. But I figured since you're coming off the bench. And I found this out about, like everyone knows, this is about 10 minutes ago. You come off the bench and you're expected to perform like this, in the pros, there's no space for, oh, I wasn't ready. There's no space for, shoot, I don't know the game plan. Like if it's your time, we talked about the Toronto Argonauts going to the Grey Cup, their quarterback, he gets hurt. Star quarterback, MOP of the league gets hurt. Nick Arbuckle, off the street, comes in and wins them the Grey Cup. That's the type of performance I expect from you. Are you ready for this tonight?
Yeah, I'll happily be your Nick Arbuckle, and I will strive for that MVP for my one time to shine.
Well, and in the spirit of that, I figured why not pull up some of the great backup quarterback performances, and because you know what, great weekend of football. Might not have gone the way we want. We can debate that a little bit later because we've been hot and heavy on the chat line. But in your recent memory, can you remember some of the great backup, whether it's quarterback performance, athletes, goalie, something that really stands out for you? Because there's a couple out here, and if you can't remember, I'm sure you're such a sports guy. Which one comes to mind for you?
Oh boy, yeah, I hate you putting me on the spot right now. But obviously the Nick Arbuckle one was very cool. Yeah. I mean, he was not far away from retiring, and then wins a Grey Cup in the Grey Cup MVP. Boy, I'm trying to think like Oilers.
Well, I'll start jogging your memory. Maybe you can yeah. But there was this little lone guy in 2001. His name was Tom Brady.
Oh yeah,
and he was behind this guy, Drew Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe had just signed, I believe, it was $111 million deal. Got knocked out of the game by the Jets. And, this undrafted or seventh round pick, that couldn't even run a 40, he steps in, and next thing we know that's history. So Tom Brady, in my opinion, has got to be one of the greatest backup stepping on the field quarterbacks and stories of all time. Would you agree?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I know when he came into New England, he was like, well, I'm the greatest decision your franchise has ever made. And everybody kind of laughed him off. And then he gets his one chance. And Bledsoe never saw the field again. So
never saw the field again. Bruno puts one in there. Jim Plunkett, legendary Raiders QB, came in for injured starter. Was it Dan Pastorini? This is 1979. He led the Super Bowl or the Raiders to a Super Bowl. Came in as a backup. Another one, again, my era, when I really got into football, got to say Kurt Warner.
Yeah, that was actually one that came to mind for me as well.
Stepped in, did phenomenally. Actually, the last time that the Washington, I guess, Redskins won, it was on the heels of a backup quarterback. There are so many great stories. The Frank Reich, before Tom Brady orchestrated the greatest comeback one of the greatest comebacks ever against the Atlanta Falcons. I believe it was Frank Reich, who was backing up for Jim Kelly, that had one of the greatest performances, coming back from a 35-3 deficit as a backup quarterback, throwing 3 touchdowns to Andre Reed for the Buffalo Bills back in the day. So there's a lot. I mean, the good thing is, there's a precedence here. It's not like it can't be done. It's not like you can't come with some hot takes. Think about Nick Foles. Think about what Nick Foles did for the Eagles. What year was that? 2019? 18. There you go. So 2018, Nick Foles steps in, and he bought himself probably another couple of years. So I don't know. Where do you go today, Trey? We're like, I'm giving you the floor now. Where do you like? What are some of the things we want to talk about tonight?
I just want to shout out one that's pretty recent too. Remember David Ayers, the goalie for the
Tell me.
The Zamboni driver for the Leafs, and he came in.
Yes, but he played for he was
for
with
the Hurricanes.
That's
Yes,
right.
Yeah, but he was their Zamboni driver.
It's true.
And he came in and he shut the door on him. That was legendary.
They can never live that down, eh? We got a firefighter in Calgary that he is the e-bug he's one of the e-bugs for the Flames, and he every once in a while he has to get up and play. That would be like, are there any other sports that sort of have that backup mentality? Because again, hockey, you don't really have backups. Like, it's not like football where you have backups and starters. Like, can you think of any other situations where a guy like got an opportunity to shine and he made maybe the star expendable? Like, I saw it in Montreal with the Canadiens at one point when Yaroslav Halak was coming in for Carey Price, and he was playing really well, and people thought, oh, maybe we could get rid of Price. But Bob Gainey, who was the GM at the time, he said no, like, you can't get rid of Carey Price. And to look back now, it was the right decision, because Carey Price, except for not winning a Stanley Cup, Hall of Fame numbers, right? So can you think of any others like that? Like, I don't know what teams you like. Like, you're an Oilers guy, you're a Rough Riders guy. There's got to be a story in there in the Rough Riders where someone stepped off the bench and did something good.
And honestly, I've been trying to think the whole time about like a cool Oilers story where like a nobody came in, but nothing's really come to mind. I know there's a couple basketball guys. I remember like for the Lakers a couple years ago, a guy was like a high school teacher, and like he comes in and like drops 20 points in the game winner for the Lakers, and he signed like a 10-day contract or whatever, and he got his 15 minutes of fame. I know it happens like in the UFC a lot too, where these guys are like Uber drivers. And then they get, hey, can you step in tomorrow? We need you to fight. And then they go in and get a big knockout and get the big contract and go on to, do good things in the UFC. But trying to think of some other stories, like the only thing I could think of is little man's. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, another one, I mean, really close to home. Edmonton Eskimos, Toronto Argonauts, Hall of Fame great quarterback, Ricky Ray. He was driving a Frito-Lay truck. And he had played arena football in Sacramento, and that year was 2002. I don't even know who the second string quarterback was in 2002, but Jason Moss was the starter for Edmonton, and Ricky Ray came in, played a few games, and beat him out. And I mean, we know what Ricky Ray became. He became one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and that's where the Frito-Ray moniker came out. You see that a little bit in the CFL, hey? Like, think about Dave Dickinson, think about Doug Flutie, think about Jeff Garcia, and those guys went on to some NFL fame and success. And I guess even Jeff Garcia for the 49ers, right? He was backing up one of the greatest, Steve Young, and he got an opportunity to show, and I'm not sure, but he made Steve Young expendable because he was a starter. So there's quite, and actually speaking of 49ers, Brock Purdy, how many guys got cut because Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, showed up and going in. So I'm not saying you're Mr. Irrelevant, but I think you have an opportunity to come in here and do some good things. So listen, you watched the games this weekend. We're going to hit your takes later, but just to give us a little bit of a teaser, where are you standing with the result of the NFL games this weekend? Like, we had a really good matchup between the Eagles and the Commanders, and we had like a matchup for the ages that everyone's anticipating between the Bills and the Chiefs. Where are you sitting right now? Are you happy how it ended, or are we gonna have a little bit of sauce to the show?
No, I think I'll have to add a little sauce to the show. I'm quite frankly a little ticked off. We were this close from a pretty exciting Super Bowl, and now it's like a rematch 2 years ago. We've already seen this story, and like the only difference maker for me is Saquon being on the Eagles and maybe some slightly better defenses on both sides. But like that, to the average person, it doesn't mean much. I kind of expect the Super Bowl to be one of the worst ones in the last couple of years for sure.
But are you going to tune in?
Well, of course I'm going to tune in.
Of course you are. Of course you are. It's like the Chevy and Nasty. It's like the ride with Chevy and Nasty without Nasty. You're still going to tune in, right? We still got guys here, and we really appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. So listen, we're going to take a break in a minute, but I also want to let you guys know. Yesterday, we had an opportunity to sit down with a former teammate of mine, CFL player, Glenn Love Jr. Now, you might not know the name. He was linebacker, played with Calgary for about 3 or 4 years. Went on a little bit of time with the Alouettes, a little bit of time with the Rough Riders, and then COVID hit, and his kind of career got sidetracked. Also, a former UCLA Bruin Rubio. And Glenn Love, we sat down with him. Unfortunately, last week, well, I don't think it was last week, but he was made public last week, diagnosis of ALS. Here's a 35-year-old man trying to transition out of football into another career, doing some great things as a stuntman in Hollywood. And so we had a chance to chat with him and to just get him to tell a story. We want to share like what he's doing. He's got a GoFundMe to help him with his treatments. He's got a 1-year-old daughter. It was a fantastic interview. We're going to drop that. Trey, when do you think we could get that ready? Let's give people an idea when we think we can get it ready. Like, what are you thinking? Next week?
Yeah, next week, probably Pro Bowl weekend. How about that? In between this week and the Super Bowl week, we'll drop it Pro Bowl weekend.
Okay, so we're going to chop it up. We're going to give you something to watch. It's a really great story, really great guy, really compelling stuff. Again, you know, when we do our Tuesday night show, a lot of it's fun. Yeah, sometimes we hit some serious stuff, but when we hit the interviews and we bring people on, we really want to keep to that moniker of great stories, spark great conversations. And it was another one. I thought we've done a few now, and we're going to give you a little sample as we go out to break. But remember, guys, you can follow us on all our social medias at Chevy and Nasty. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X. Our show will be and TikTok. Our show will be available tomorrow to download audio file, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course every Friday our episodes get released on YYC Business. So please check them out. A great platform, and if you do have a business, a great platform to check out to amplify your message. So let's go to break. Let's catch a clip of Glenn, and then we'll be back to talk about the games of the weekend.
Then I finally found a doctor at UNM Hospital, he's a neurologist, and they're like, hey, like, I'm saying they're stressed. I'm like, I don't think it's stress. I've been through all this kind of other stuff. It's probably not that, whatever. Then they leave. Another doctor comes in, Dr. Couchy. He was the head ALS doctor at UNM. Starts doing a test with me, starts, breaking down, like, so, like, what's going on with you? Are you losing weight? No. You're losing strength? Yes. How much are you losing strength with? And where's all the twitching going now? And about that time, my twitching was in both arms and chest and a little bit of my back. So, I'm like, what is it then? Like, what do you guys think it is? And he's like, sorry to say it, but like, you probably have ALS. That was the first time hearing from a doctor. And I'm like, all right, take a deep breath in, whatever. Then like, start asking questions. And like, a question comes up, like, what does that mean? How long is that? Is that, fatal? He's like, well, technically it's like 2 to 3 years minimum, like average. I'm like, all right. And that's when like the world just kind of like goes bright, black, whatever you want to call it. You're just like in like a numbing state at that point. You don't know like what's going on, and you don't feel like it's real.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
want your business to be known. YYCCalgaryBusiness.ca is Calgary's only online media platform that gets you noticed. Short-form video content is rapidly taking over as the most effective way to engage your audience. Whether you're being interviewed on a vodcast, sharing a sizzle reel, or even hosting your own show, there is one place you can publicize your business. We want to tell your story and introduce you to our network of empowered business owners and leaders right here in Calgary. Isn't it time you took your digital game to 11? Call us or email us now.
Okay, I'm going to apologize live. Maybe it was a mistake. So first of all, welcome back, all of you. If you're looking for Sheldon, the Nasty, he's here in spirit. He's watching from home. He took really ill. Let me know that he wasn't going to be able to do the show, and we brought up the backup. Now, my plan was this. Is I was going to spring a topic on Trey. We had a topic. I was like, yeah, just roll with me, and maybe I put you on the spot with the backup talk, but I thought we can get it. But you know what? There's some good conversation there about quarterbacks, because I'm typically a fan of the underdog. Since we've done the show, we talk about picks when we talk about sports, football, hockey. I always pull for the underdog. I mentioned Doug Flutie, like one of the greatest underdogs. You mentioned Kurt Warner. His movie was The American Underdog. But when it comes to picking the underdog versus picking a team that operates at such a high level that you're witnessing something that's so hard to replicate, I often find myself rooting for that perfection. Sort of like when the Patriots became the team that everyone hated, I really appreciated the way they operated. And they went through so many iterations of Patriots way. They went from a smash mouth running game. They went to a 2 tight end system. They had the 1 year with Randy Moss. They constantly reinvented ways to win and ways to be great. And so many people hated them. And when you have a team that's great, whether it's in football or hockey, you're always going to have more people that hate them than that like them, because nobody else is them. They're the team you want to be. You wish your team won 7 Super Bowls. And I think that since Brady retired and what we're witnessing now with the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey, and Andy Reid, and the way they operate and the way they win, and then you add a little bit of spice with the Taylor Swift thing that's been going on. They really got a lot of people talking about them. So Trey, I think we're going to just start there. We had a heated debate this weekend, and you have some thoughts about the game. I'm kind of happy the way it turned out. I'm not a Bills hater. Felt kind of bad for them. Thought that if there was a year that they were going to beat the Chiefs, this might be it. I don't cheer against Josh Allen. I was just like, I don't think he has what it takes. And he didn't have what it took on the weekend. And the Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl. Tell me, young Trey, tell me how you really feel.
Well, I'll tell you how I really feel. I feel like they were screwed. I'll start with that. I thought all year that the Chiefs were kind of a fraudulent team. They kind of had a couple lucky wins. If you go back, remember week 1 against the Ravens where Likely's toe was out by a toenail and they win that game. And if you remember the game against the Falcons where they're getting wrapped up in the end zone and there's no PI. And then a little later in the year, the doink against the crossbar to beat the Chargers. And it's just like, okay, well, this team just keeps running into these miracle situations, ending up on the right side of it. And I just think that their luck was going to run out in the playoffs. And boy, I was wrong. Looking at the photo here, we all know the situation. I have the video too.
We'll play it. But wait, you said, and let's break this down a bit, because you said their luck's going to run out, right? And everyone thinks that when you find ways to win, and especially the way they did, did they not break the record for consecutive wins in one possession games this year. I think was it 15 in a row or something?
I think they're at 17 now. So
17. Yeah. So this is the thing. Like, you could say they're lucky, but good teams make their own luck. Like the Chiefs, to get into situations where it's a 1-point game where they can just run the time off the clock, bleed it off. I mean, that's not all luck. They've been there before. They've done it. They've got skill. They execute. And you mentioned Baltimore Ravens, right? Fantastic team. Chiefs beat them early in the year. That should be resolved for Baltimore Ravens to figure out, okay, listen, the best team in the league beat us. We got to be that much better to beat them. And they didn't even make it to the game. They couldn't even beat the Bills. And so you mentioned all these teams that lost to the Chiefs. They didn't do anything to improve their situation because none of them are here. And yet you've got the Chiefs doing what they do consistently week in, week out. And the only team that gave them trouble this year was the Bills. And the Chiefs knew that they had to do a little bit better than the Bills to go back to the Super Bowl. They knew that they didn't have to do a lot, but they had to do a little bit better. The Bills had to do a ton to beat the Chiefs in their home, to beat their own demons that they've been trying to exercise for the last 3 years, now into the fourth, and they didn't bring enough. They brought enough to be close. I mean, you look at the stats. I mean, total yards 374, 368, passing yards 272, 233. Like the game was pretty much a toss-up, like right down to the end. But that's not enough to beat the best team. When Arnold said, when you're the king of the hill, when you're the wolf at the top of the hill, you don't look for the food. The food comes to you. It's right there to eat. Arnold Schwarzenegger said that. For the Bills, they had to be that much better than the Chiefs and to be just close enough that people are worried about a call on fourth down that may or may not have crossed the line. That's not going to cut it, because even if they got that first down, Chiefs are still going to win that game. Chiefs are still going to win that game, in my opinion.
I have to disagree. I think it completely flipped the momentum of the game. They were rolling. They had just scored 2 touchdowns to start the half. And even that 3-yard swing pass to Kincaid was poorly spotted. And then a tush push is poorly spotted, and everybody sits around. We wait 5 minutes, and the ball goes back to the Chiefs, and they go down and score. And then it's like, well,
let's watch that play. Let's watch that play. Let's focus on that push, as you mentioned. Let's watch that play.
This is basically science. Science by video editing. 3rd and 3. Fake the inside handoff. Go outside. Get the first. They say we got it. Kansas City comes up. They don't say no. Just 23 was like, no, I don't think so. And then, okay, they didn't get it. They got to hurry up. Clock's ticking. Didn't get it by half a yard. Okay, QB sneak and pushed him over the line. No, what's going to be the call? Everyone's pointing every which way. One official comes in on the line. The other official comes in inside the line, and everyone's pointing, and we got tons of pointing, lots of pointing, and they say they stopped him. Let's take a look at my very scientific replays, okay? As you see, we've got Allen hugging the ball. Everyone I saw saying it was on his right side, but it's more on his left side, and it's dead center. He's just bear hugging that thing. Problem is, the Chiefs player gets in the way of our view. Don't worry. I edited with science. I made the Chiefs player invisible to give us some insight into where that ball actually is. There you go. That's where the ball is. He's hugging it right in front of his chest. He's got a good grip. See? Okay. So that's where the ball is. Now, see that pylon behind? Let's just drag that down a little bit. That's a straight line. Come on. Lower. Keep going. I've got the head of the football over that dang line, and that official's got a great view of it. This is great news. Great news for Buffalo.
Okay, so yes,
That is oh my God.
You might think it's silly that he had to Photoshop the guy's center of his chest of his body to see. But that's not the point I'm making. That's not the point I'm making.
Okay, let's go. Keep making it.
The point I'm making is, why on earth are we not reviewing these with chips and balls?
Yeah, like, that's not the point.
No, there is like zero reason why we are.
There's no Fritos, there's no Doritos, there's no chips in the balls. So asking that question is saying like, I don't know, why are there no chips?
You're not listening to what I'm saying, Randy.
I'm listening. I'm just adding color to this.
Randy,
keep going.
We play tennis. We can see if a ball's in or out.
Yeah, I know.
We play soccer. You know, they have the soccer goals where it's like you can look over and see if the toe is a little bit offside or if the ball is in or whatever. Why are we just going off some guy running down the sideline and saying,
Trey, tell me where would the chip be? Would the chip be at the tip of the ball? Would there be two chips, one at the front, one at the back? Or would they somehow mysteriously floated in the middle?
No, we can put it in both sides if you want. Sure. Let's
get it right.
Let's just get it right is all I want.
We had chips and balls in the CFL, and because the CFL is a league of 9 teams, 9 kickers got pissed off because they were missing kicks, and they got the chips out of the ball. Maybe they were the guinea pigs for the NFL balls that have chips. Rubio says they got microchips in the ball, so they know how far it goes. But now, in all seriousness, like again, I listened to you lose your mind, and I'm glad you didn't drop any F-bombs tonight. I see that you're composed, more composed. But the thing about this is Tony Romo said this. He said when you're Tony
Romo also said it was a first down.
Okay. Yeah, but he also mentioned this: when you're doing a tush push in the field of play and you keep driving your feet and stuff, the referee's making a judgment call. If you keep fighting for yards, the whistle doesn't go right away. If I catch a football and then run backwards 2 yards, I don't necessarily get the spot that I caught it on. Now, again, the judgment call, first of all, was hard, but it's not a cross the plane type thing, like when we're talking about the goal line. It's not. So, again, just like I mentioned, what the Bills needed to beat the Chief was decisive and like conclusive gameplay to show beyond the shadow of a doubt that they could beat this team. And they didn't. They were even with the best team. And you know what they say? When you're even, he's leaving. And that's what happened. The Chiefs leaving to the Super Bowl, and the Bills are looking for chips and balls. Like, that's it. Like, they're like so many people whining about the Chiefs all year, but they keep winning. And while everyone else is at home or in Cancun or wherever they are complaining about the Chiefs are going to go on with an opportunity to three-peat. Now, I'm not saying they will three-peat, but until you beat them, you ain't them. And the Bills had a tremendous opportunity. Like, again, I like that Bills team. I thought Josh Allen had an amazing season. When you talk about MVP, they didn't name the MVP yet, right? Like, no. Who do we think it is? Do we think it's Josh or do we think it's Lamar? Because it's one of those two, right? There's nobody else in the conversation.
It's probably Lamar just because he was the first team All-Pro quarterback.
Yeah. So, but again, I thought it was really impressive what the Bills did. It's just, the Chiefs are that team right now. And not only are they beating them on the field, unfortunately, they're beating them in their heads. And no amount of dude showing up in an Animal from the Muppet Show costume pregame to show that he's loose. Those guys were tight. Those guys were nervous.
I don't know why that bothered you so much.
I don't know.
Every game. It's not a distraction.
I don't know. I don't know. I wish we had a picture of that. But who is it that showed up in a barefoot? Yeah, Matt
he does it
Holland.
every week. This is nothing new. He does it every week.
I think it's a distraction because this is what he probably does. He probably has it in his.
Definitely not a distraction.
He has it in his hotel room. And he's like, yeah, today I'm going to unveil this. And you know what? When you get to the stadium and you see a guy show up in an animal costume, you're not focusing on your playbook. Or Dave Dickinson always said this, when he was coach. He's like, guys, the hay's never in the barn. You can always do a little bit more preparing for a game, even 5 minutes up until the game. But when you got a guy that shows up in an animal from the Muppet Show costume, barefoot, looking like an idiot. Well, where's everyone's eyes going to go? They're going to look at the idiot in the costume, talk about the, yo, bro, that's a great one. And like it could lighten the mood, but it could also be a distraction. I'm not saying
Didn't Matt Collins have 2 touchdown catches in the game? Like,
catches,
what are we doing here?
But you know what? Maybe the offensive linemen that were supposed to get that first yard for Josh Allen were still thinking about the animal costume instead of doing their job.
Well, you know what they should have been doing, and Rubio is right on this. The Bills don't run a true tush push. They put little Ray Davis or James Cook behind Josh Allen. They don't do the Eagles way where they throw 2
they don't.
tight ends or a center and a fullback. They
always run him to the left.
And they knew that. And even Romo and Nads picked up on that.
So
and me and my buddy picked up on that too. Why are we going over the left guard?
So you picked up on it. Romo and Nads picked up on it. Everyone in the stadium knew it. Well, shit. Shame on the Bills for not having anything else besides Josh Allen trying to get behind his guard and tackle and trying to stuff it in. They left it up to a judgment call. A judgment was made, and I think they got it right. 31 fan bases that hate the Chiefs and hate Taylor Swift and hate Travis Kelce and hate Patrick Mahomes think they got it wrong, but doesn't matter what you think and doesn't matter what I think because they won. And the scoreboard doesn't lie. The Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. So let's talk about that Super Bowl because, I mean, it's going to be a repeat of Super Bowl a couple of years ago. The Eagles, for me, Trey, I got to tell you, like you've been on the Eagles, hot on the Eagles. I do love the Taylor Swift, Reagan. But it took me a while to warm up to the Eagles. First of all, when you play for the Dallas Cowboys and you go to the old vet stadium and people are throwing D batteries at you, you tend to think, and this was in the 2000s, you tend to not appreciate a group of people when they're throwing batteries at you when you're getting off the bus. So that's my first reason. But again, that natural rivalry, Eagles Cowboys, was huge. But I got to tell you, I definitely have warmed up to them this year. I really appreciate strong play. As I mentioned, when it comes to like dominant performances by a team. But when I witness greatness, I'm not a big Oilers fan, but when I watch Connor McDavid, I'm like, holy crap, like this guy's good. And when I watch Saquon Barkley week in, week out, what he does for that team, and really, he's one of those generational players that's not just good at what he does, but he makes everyone around them better. And I don't know how you do that as a running back. I don't know, because you get the ball and everyone's supposed to be blocking for you, but something that he does when he touches that ball makes everyone on that field. It's like a power up if it was a video game. Like even Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback because of this guy. And, watching him 2 weeks ago against the Rams was like poetry in motion. I even said it, I think. And then watching him this weekend, same sort of thing. I just like this team way better than the one that was 2 years ago. I mean, 14-3 versus 15-2. What do you think? Like, I don't know. There's less similarities between this Eagles team and the Eagles team 2 years ago than the Chiefs team and the Chiefs team 2 years ago. I think that the Eagles are in a lot better position to challenge. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that Eagles team from 2 years ago was kind of like a pass-happy team. And I don't know if you remember, but it was like every second play, Jalen Hurts was going deep to somebody, and they had a really good 3 quarters of catching balls, and they almost won that game, actually, if it wasn't for Mahomes. But I think with the addition of Saquon, it just changes the way the Eagles offense runs, and they can run it with Saquon. And then, okay, we'll pull it back and Hurts will go for a read option. Okay, Devontae Smith is open. Okay, A.J. Brown's deep. Goddard had a great game the other day. Their O-line is probably the best in the league. And then when you flip it, they have Vic Fangio, who's probably the best defensive coordinator in the league, maybe Spagnuolo. And they just have a wonderful defense. Quinyon Mitchell, the rookie, is playing some of the best corner football you'll ever see. And I think this Eagles team is a substantially better team than they were 2 years ago. But there's just something about the Chiefs, man. You just can't count them out ever in the playoffs.
So yeah, I agree. I like, again, we talk about it a lot. When Brady was around, and I used to do a little football pool, I just had a couple of rules. I always picked the teams I played for, but never picked against Brady. And it usually worked. Welcome to the show, AC, Anthony Cobbs, AC Sports Live. I mean, he is a big time Philly fan, and he's got to be on cloud nine. You got to be on cloud nine because, again, that game against the Commanders the other day started off pretty close. I was watching the beginning of it. I thought, man, the Commanders, and again, my love for the underdog made me really root for the Commanders. I mean, I like Jaden Daniels and what he was doing. I thought they had a fantastic game the week before, and I thought, oh, this could be a good one. And then, the Eagles blew the doors off that. What is it? Was it 7 rushing touchdowns?
Yeah, I think they each had 3, didn't they?
Hurts had 3. Saquon Barkley had 3. But yeah, you mentioned it. AJ Brown and Goddard had great games, like almost 100-yard games. 2 guys, considering you have a 100-yard rusher that scored 3 touchdowns, and then the quarterback scores 3 touchdowns. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good Super Bowl. I don't know, like if I look back at the Super Bowl I wanted to see, maybe I wanted to see the Lions there. I really wanted to see the Lions there. I want to see the Lions have their time. Their fans have been long starving. On the AFC side, could I have seen the Bills? Yeah. But again, I've never bet against the Chiefs. And I think, when we talk about the Super Bowl coming up in 2 weeks, it's going to be fun. And we're not going to do any predictions tonight. I will kind of throw back, and this is before your time, Trey, that Super Bowl between 2 years ago between the Chiefs and the Eagles was basically the return of Chevy and Nasty. That was our first season 0, episode 1, I believe, was a Super Bowl preview. So Nasty lost some weight. Yeah, Nasty. Unfortunately, I see Nasty's under the weather if you're just joining us. But you know what? Let's move on. We're going to do the Blitz, and then we're going to take a quick break because lots of stuff to talk about.
Time for the Chevy and Nasty Blitz.
I'm going to ask you the Blitz question, okay? A lot of coaching changes in the NFL. We've been talking about it the last couple of weeks. Last week, pretty much after we come off the air, Dallas Cowboys hire Brian Schottenheimer, Raiders, Pete Carroll. Both questionable hires. And then who do we have on the bottom there? The coach of the Jags, Kellen. What's his name? Kellen.
Liam Cohen.
Liam Cohen. We won't approach that one right now. But between the Raiders, who went old school, and the Cowboys, who went completely not unknown, but really untested, who made the worst choice here, Trey?
I gotta go with the Raiders. I know. And you know what I should say? For about 10 years, I loved Pete Carroll, and he did bring us a Super Bowl in Seattle. I'm a Seahawks fan, and so I do have a soft spot for Pete. But when he was out last year, like he's 74. Bye. You had a great career. You won a Super Bowl. You won a national championship. But it's time to go to the retirement home, or we got to change your diaper, Pete.
But you got Bill Belichick. You got Bill Belichick in college with a 24-year-old girlfriend, and they're pinning all his hopes on a national championship. He's like 100 years old.
No, they're not pinning their hopes on a national championship in UNC.
Well, he's going to revive them. You got Andy Reid. Andy Reid's about as old as
oh, he's older than Andy Reid by like 10 years.
Okay, well,
he's going to be the oldest coach ever by week 5 next year, ever.
Okay, so you're saying that Pete Carroll has some pedigree, who knows how to build. He doesn't need to be the X's and O's guy. He just needs to assemble the staff that puts it together. He's a smart guy. I mean, I wasn't even a Seahawks fan, and I loved what he did. Like, they were consistent year in, year out, and that was because he was at the top. Now you go to Dallas. Brian Schottenheimer. Let's pull up Brian Schottenheimer's record here. So with the Washington Redskins, before the quarterbacks coach, 28th ranked offense, San Diego Chargers. What is it? Only years of Drew Brees' career where he didn't look like a Hall of Fame level. New York Giants or Jets wasted some of the NFL's best defenses with Mark Sanchez. St. Louis Rams. I mean, go down. There's not a success story there. Most recently, Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, they ruined him under Urban Meyer. And then I just heard today that as their defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, they hired the guy that the 49ers demoted from defensive coordinator this year. It doesn't look good for the Cowboys. And you're telling me that Pete Carroll is a worse hire than this. I love the Cowboys. Jerry Jones was my dud a few weeks ago for what he did for Cooper Rush. He may as well be my dud tonight for the hiring that he pulled, because he even went on and said, I'm hiring a guy that makes me feel comfortable. And I don't know, sometimes you got to hire someone that maybe makes you feel uncomfortable.
No, I thought he said he hired somebody who made him uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Because it was somebody who had never been a head coach before. He was just like an OC and stuff. But I think here's why I think Pete's worse. You've been saying in the group chats that Pete Carroll is there to, and maybe Tom Brady had his hand in the cookie jar looking for Ben Johnson, and
they're saying that Tom Brady is the only guy making decisions out there. But continue.
So maybe he missed out on Ben Johnson, and so now he needs a big name, and Pete Carroll is probably the only big name left. But you have been saying in the group chat that Pete Carroll is going to be there to set the standard and set the culture. Well, so what? They're going to suck for 4 years still, even if they get a new quarterback and they have new defense and whatever. And then he's going to be 80. Like, he's going to be like older than a person should be living. I'm sorry. Like,
the only reason they're going to suck,
he's going to hand the reins to somebody. And that person's going to be 35 years old, and they're going to set a new standard, new culture, and all of Pete. Like, you just wasted 4 years of Pete Carroll.
The only thing I'm going to concede to you is this: the reason they're going to suck is the reason everyone else in that division is going to suck. You know why? Because they're playing in the same division as the Chiefs. That's the only reason they're going to suck.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
But
that's it.
No.
The Cowboys are going to suck because they got a guy that is terrible, and they're behind the Eagles, who are pretty damn good, and the Commanders, who are pretty damn good. So I still think that the Cowboys made the worst choice. Let's go to the next blitz question. Let's see what else we got here. Are you asking it to me, or am I asking it to you?
Oh, you ask it to me, and we can go bounce off each other.
So let's go with this one. So listen, we saw in the last week, Detroit Lions preparing for NFC semifinal. They lose against the Commanders. 2 days after they lose, both their OC and DC get hired by the Jets and the Bears, respectively. Obviously, they were interviewing. Obviously, they were hiring staff. Do you think that the NFL has to put a hiring freeze on coaches and coaching movement until after the Super Bowl? Because it's ridiculous. I mean, I said it last week when Detroit lost their OC, I'll say it even doubly. I'd be pissed off if I'm Lions fans at those coaches. And then you look at what happened in Jacksonville and Tampa with their OC, Liam Cohen or whatever his name is, going back and forth, waffling on his decision. NFL's got to put a hiring freeze on that so that people can just focus on the playoffs and not worry about coaches jumping ship the day after their team loses. Because, I mean, that would be ridiculous. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if I was a Lions fan, I'd be pretty ticked off. Like you guys talked about it last week. Well, probably both of them now. They were like in the team meeting room and they're like, hey, coach, I got to go take a shit. And they're probably texting their buddies trying to assemble their staff because they know they're going to have this job. So I definitely think I would be ticked off as a Lions fan. But I don't know, putting a pot, like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'll agree with you. I think they should put a pause until after the Super Bowl.
CFL does that during Grey Cup. I think they do that They do a hiring freeze during the Grey Cup, and some, like there's trade freezes during Christmas break in NHL, Olympic times. I'm sure there's going to be a trade freeze during the Four Nations Cup. So it's not without precedent, and I think it just keeps everything clean so that everyone can focus on the football. You're not worried about guys. Put it this way: let's say you're a coach, you're one of the best coaches in the NFL. You're probably in your office all day long. Players can come in, hey, coach, I don't understand this blocking scheme. Can you explain to me? Let's watch film, blah, blah, blah. Then this week before the Commanders game, your Detroit Lions, offensive lineman, running back, and you go to coach's office and you're like, oh, coach is not here. I'll ask him tomorrow. Right? You know what I mean? Just a little thing could affect that, right? And I think just for the integrity of the game, especially the integrity of the game, you put a hiring freeze on that so no one's tampering, no one's talking, and you just wait till after. Listen, guys, we're going to take a break. Again, thank you for showing up. Nasty, we miss you out here. We hope you're feeling better. We hope you're still hanging out with us, and if you're not, that you're getting some rest. All of you guys that join us every week, 10:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we really appreciate you. Please continue to like, follow, subscribe at Chevy and Nasty, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all the places where you can find social media. And again, tomorrow morning, this will be available for download. So if you got to go to bed now, just pick it up tomorrow where you left off. And of course, YouTube. We'll take a quick break and then we'll get back. We're going to wrap up for the last few minutes of the show.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Do you want your business to be known? YYCCalgaryBusiness.ca is Calgary's only online media platform that gets you noticed. Short-form video content is rapidly taking over as the most effective way to engage your audience. Whether you're being interviewed on a vodcast, sharing a sizzle reel, or even hosting your own show, there is one place you can publicize your business. We want to tell your story and introduce you to our network of empowered business owners and leaders right here in Calgary. Isn't it time you took your digital game to 11? Call us or email us now.
All right, we're back. It's a ride with Chevy and Nasty. For those of you still with us, Nasty is not here. For those of you just joining us, not feeling well tonight. We gave him the night off. We kept him back at hometown, and we called Trey up off the bench. Trey, first of all, let me tell you, you're doing a fantastic job. Not only are you producing the show, putting up the comments, you're focusing on a bunch of stuff, and I'm hitting you with some hard and heavy stuff tonight. So as always, Jerry should run the offense. Yeah, we're talking about the Cowboys. I don't know if Jerry could run the offense. But you know what? We talk about Jerry Jones and we talk about Landman. I don't know. Did you see the episode where Jerry Jones appeared?
Oh yeah, I finished the whole season.
Yeah, and he mentioned that scene. There's a scene where he's in the hospital visiting. Gosh, I can't remember the character's name. Monty. Yeah, visiting Monty in the hospital after a heart attack. And he talks about his time with the Cowboys and how he made his money in gas in California, and then he bought the Cowboys so that he could be close. And I thought that was some real profound stuff. And I'm wondering if that was authentically his words or if it was written for him. But God, that was a good scene because being a sports fan and actually, in fact, having I don't have a current, but I did have a relationship with Jerry Jones. Man, I really appreciated that, with especially for someone that's always trying to engage with his kids. I mean, you don't have kids yet. You probably don't understand that, but you also have a dad that did, dines and dashes on you. So, but yeah, I really appreciated that scene, and it kind of wraps up some of the stuff where, Jerry Jones is doing what Jerry wants to do. His family's involved as intently as he is, and yeah, when they're making decisions that work for them. Are they necessarily always the best decisions? I don't know, but it sure is interesting when it comes to the Cowboys. It's never a dull moment with them, right? Nope. They never suck so bad that you say they're the worst team, like historically, like the Cleveland Browns. Have been, or even the Bengals, prior to this kind of generation. They've never been like that. They're always just good enough that they give you the hope, right? And they say it's the hope that kills. It's the hope that kills. But you know what? Jerry won't make my studs and duds list this year. We already talked to him, but we do have to get to studs and duds. So let's cue the music.
Studs and duds.
I'm reading Daryl's comment now. And it's, the worst thing is when you move on from a topic and then you read a comment from the past topic and you just got to put it up.
It's terrible for as a producer too, because I'm like, well, do I put it on or not?
Well, I called back to it. So, but okay, we're going to move on to studs and duds. Listen, my stud for the week, staying in the same conference as the Raiders and the Chiefs, the Denver Broncos. Read that. The Denver Broncos have committed to provide 15,000 new helmets free to every high school program in Colorado. Like, how unbelievable is that? And then think about it, there are 15,000 high school players in Colorado. That's ridiculous.
I guess so.
That is ridiculous.
Good for them.
Good on the Denver Broncos. I mean, I know that in the CFL, the money that flows in and out is not the same as the NFL. But, when you see things like this, and throughout the year, we've seen, some of the players that have foundations. Like I've mentioned Baker Mayfield a few times, where he provided equipment to that one Florida team that wound up, I think they wound up winning their state championship. And, when you see things like this, especially football, it's one of those sports that caters to, sometimes a more inner city demographic, sometimes people that don't have means to play the more expensive sports like hockey and so on and so forth. And to see like acts of philanthropy like that, that's pretty cool, because helmets are damn expensive. I coach minor football, and here with the Mavericks, and getting even 7 new helmets in a year is like very expensive. Like a helmet is almost like $500. So that, and we don't, the kids pay a very small fee for registration for football, and those helmets are a huge expense. So to get 15,000 helmets donated, that's pretty big. So what is this? Regan says the Los Angeles Chargers should donate 15,000 pairs of gloves and hold trials for new receivers. Oh, we got a disgruntled Chargers.
That's my buddy Reagan. So
awesome, Reagan. Well, thanks and welcome to the show. We're giving. I hope your buddy Trey is doing you proud. He's doing us proud here, and I hope you guys appreciate that. If Trey wasn't here, you'd hear me speaking the whole night. But my dud, and we're going to go a little bit of overtime, not too much. My dud of the night is the Lakeland College. I guess the story coming out of Lakeland College, where the Rustlers women's basketball team has to forfeit the 24-25 season. The ACAC forces the team to forfeit. Trey, can you give us a brief rundown of what's going on and where this is going? Because this is eerily similar to a story we did last year, where Simon Fraser dropped their football team, and unfortunately it never got revived. Looks like there's hope here, but tell us a little bit about what's going on, because this is close to home for you, and it's my dud of the week. So give us a little background.
Yeah, so I played in the ACA for SAIT for 2 years, so I follow their Instagram and came across that exact same post that the Lakeland College Rustlers had forfeited their women's basketball team for the year, and I thought that was weird. And so I did a little digging and on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and came across some posts that brought me up to speed. And so basically, my understanding is that the girls were running lines at practice at the start of the season. They had forgot their jersey bags, I believe, for practice. And so that was like a rule that the team had put in place. So they all agreed to run, and they started running. And I don't know how long they were running for, but one of the girls fell down and, not doing well after a bunch of running. And I guess they stopped the practice and took the girl away and took her to the hospital or whatever. And the team, the coaches never really thought anything of it. And then 2 weeks later, this girl quits the team, and the ACAC had suspended the head coach, who is, I believe his name is Chris King. He had been there for 17 years, and they won national championships last year. They won the ACAC and the CCAA, so quite a successful coach. He's been bringing in people from the States to stay for 5 years, which is like kind of unheard of in Canada. And so when these girls found out that their coach had been removed, there was an investigation, and I guess the Lakeland College and the ACAC didn't really investigate the players about the situation.
Or you mean interview them, right? Like they didn't interview them and
and they didn't really have a full understanding, I guess, of what had happened. And so basically they were about ready to go on a road trip in November, late November-ish, to Medicine Hat, which from Lloydminster is like a 5-6 hour bus ride. And they were informed that their coach had been let go after this investigation. And they were just expected to get on this bus and go to Medicine Hat without a hitch. And obviously the girls and the assistant coaches were distraught, and they didn't really understand why. And they were kind of just left in the dark. No one had told them anything, and nobody had been interviewed or anything like that. So they decided, we're not getting on this bus. We're not going. And so they forfeited the 2 games against Medicine Hat. At the time, they were undefeated too this year. They hadn't lost a game.
So at that point, he could have been suspended for anything, right? Like they didn't know that this was relating to the running incident, or did they have a clue that this was related to the girl that quit, that made some complaints? Because again, I just kind of playing devil's advocate, if you don't know what your coach is being suspended for, it could be anything. I mean, like, for instance, and what I'm saying is, like, let's say he was in the office and he was accused of, I don't know, sexual harassment by a secretary, and the players would never know about that, but he was released because of that. Well, it would be a pretty silly thing to forfeit if you don't know what the situation is, right? So did they have any inkling, or are they going on they thought, and that's what they did?
I can't speak for the team. I have no idea if they knew if that was why he was suspended or not. I would have to assume no, just because the situation was so minor that, like, they hadn't even been interviewed. So at the time, so like they had probably, like I said, I can't speak for the team, but they probably had no clue why they were being sent to Medicine Hat with no coach.
So when did it all come out? When did it all come out that was the reason that this action took place, and then again that they're basically forfeiting their season? What was kind of like, what's going on now?
So yeah, that was in November, late November, and then he was like officially fired in December 5th, I believe. And like the ACAC never made a post about why he was being suspended, and so I think there was a bunch of rumors going on at the time that, like, it made it sound like he had done something bad, like maybe sexually harassed somebody or something like that. And the
rumors fly, right?
Yeah, rumors fly fast. And it was like, no. This guy is as professional as it gets, and he's being screwed over, and these girls deserve better. And so they started the petition or the hashtag no king, no ring. And so these girls took like Post-it notes and started slapping them everywhere across the school. They said thousands, no king, no ring. And they had like this petition going to get their coach back. And so I don't really know what happened between over the Christmas break and now, but I know that they had like put in a petition. If I pull up the article, I maybe should, but they put in a petition to continue their season under like, and the reasoning was like an act of God or something is the reason why they had to forfeit these games, and so they should be allowed to continue. And the ACC shut it down, and they said, nope, you guys are going to have to forfeit your season. You can't find a coach. You girls won't play. You're done. And so these girls, they do get their scholarship from what I understand, but they are losing a year eligibility.
Well, and that's the thing. When we, again, to bring it back to the topic we talked about a couple of years ago, and again, if you guys haven't caught this one, I do believe it's on our YouTube channel, but when Simon Fraser dropped the program, much like this, in the longer term for Simon Fraser, you got guys that made a choice to go to that college to be student athletes, to play football, and Simon Fraser gave scholarships. But even in the immediacy of that year, for players at the end of their tenure, there's nowhere for them to go to continue doing what they love, right? And it's really unfortunate because you got parents coming from all over. You said this coach recruits from all over that make plans to go visit their kids. Like, having an athlete, having a student athlete, and you're a student athlete. For those of you that don't know, Trey's on the golf team at UFC. Having an athlete in the family playing at college, it's a big deal. And to have that taken away, it doesn't just affect the player, it affects the families that put in all those long hours when they were young at the courts, and the extra work and the extra coaching, just to give them that, and to take that away for something with such overreach, a lot of overreach in this situation. It really is unfortunate for those gals, because they don't get an opportunity to come back. A lot of them, they don't get a chance to play. And just to go back, Rob Evans had a great quote there. If you want to throw it up, he said, "If you don't tell the story, people will make it up," and that is true. And unfortunately, this thing is still evolving. I assume we might not have all the facts, but it is unfortunate for the girls, because at the end of the day, it's the student athletes that suffer. It's not the coach. You know what? If he's that successful, guess what? He's going to coach somewhere else. This might be one of those things where he was pretty comfortable. He had a great program, but all of a sudden, necessity is the mother of invention. He reinvents himself. But for a lot of those girls, you don't get a chance to play beyond this. So it's super unfortunate. I had seen that happen at McGill. But a more justified situation. There was a hazing situation, and the season was canceled, and they got some punishments, and players lost their opportunities there. More recently, again, when I talk about Simon Fraser dropping their football program, and that was literally in the middle of the night before exams, when the team was going to a team meeting. They had no clue that it was coming, and again, there was an inquiry after. They forced an inquiry, but I guess the independent inquiry determined that they're not going to have the team back. But just for those of you that might have listened to that episode, we had a 3-part series on that. One of them, we had Jim Mullen, who was the president of Football Canada at the time, talked about the situation. We had big Doug Brown, who played a long time Hall of Famer in the CFL. He's a Simon Fraser alum, talked about what it meant. But we also had a family on there, the Kramers, Gideon Kremler, excuse me. Gideon and his mom came on, and they had 3 kids go through that Simon Fraser program and talk about what it meant to them. And I can imagine that for these girls at Lakeland, very much the same. A lot of pride in the program, and to have that ripped away is tough. But as a side note and a little aside, Gideon, I just found out recently, who, once his season was ended at Simon Fraser, he went to BC Junior League to play because he didn't wind up on a CIS or whatever U Sports roster. He didn't kind of change schools. He stayed at the same school and just completed his studies and played junior. But he's actually going to play quarterback in Austria. So I guess for some of these athletes, there may be a happier ending, but they're definitely going to have to grind it out and show that, basketball or football in Gideon's case is really their priority right now. But it sure makes it tough for a student athlete to get that full positive experience. Like I assume they're not going to have very positive memories of this year when they graduate.
Yeah, I've listened to a couple podcasts, the Sean Newman podcast, and he had 3 of the girls on and the 2 assistant coaches, and they were like, yeah, like I just can't recommend Lakeland College to anybody anymore. They kind of tarnish their reputation with this, and it's unfortunate because it was such a good program, but people just won't stand for this stuff.
Yeah, no, because again, if it happens once, it can happen again, especially with no sort of explanation and no real logical sequence of events and proper investigation, as you mentioned. And so, yeah, it's unfortunate. A good program's going to die. We got not much time left. I think we should probably call it pretty soon. This summer, guys, we talked about this on the weekend, and we wanted to introduce you. We're going to be bringing back the men's mental health movie night. This is not an official announcement, but we are looking to May. We'll get the dates out soon. We'll get all that going. But, Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning is coming out. To get you ready for that, you got a number of months. Netflix has most of the Mission Impossible series. I just watched the Dead Reckoning, and I wasn't a big Mission Impossible guy. I love James Bond. I love action movies, but I saw Mission Impossible 1, 2, and 3, and that was almost 20 years ago because I think Mission Impossible 3 was 2006. How old were you in 2006, Trey?
2.
You were 2 years old. My son Luke was 18. It was just born, and so I watched those, and then I kind of got cool on the Tom Cruise movies for a while when he got all weird and jumping on Oprah's couch and all that stuff. But I watched from Ghost Protocol and on. Man, those are some good movies. And this weekend, I watched Dead Reckoning with my boys. I highly recommend it. In fact, I believe that one of the Mission Impossible movies is leaving Netflix pretty soon. So you guys might want to catch it to prepare for the men's mental health movie night. I think it's going to be good. Trey, have you seen any Mission Impossible movies?
No, I've only seen the clip of Tom Cruise like hanging off the airplane doing his own stunts. So I'll have to check it out for sure. You've been telling me it's a good series of movies. So
that's a good movie to watch with your dad. Like, I don't know. Do you watch some movies with your dad sometimes? Is there a series you watch? For sure. Because with my dad growing up, it was the James Bond movies. My dad loved the classic James Bond movies. So if a James Bond movie came out or Indiana Jones, that was a good movie to watch with my dad. The Mission Impossible series is another one that's just fun to watch with dad. And I highly recommend it. Because, as we get closer to May, we're going to start pumping up the information on the men's mental health movie night. We're going to need you guys to help us pump out the information to get it out to your networks. We want it to be a bit bigger. So we'll give you – we haven't finalized plans, but we know it's coming in May. And we're going to need your help to spread the word, pack the house like we did last year. If you were there, it was a fantastic night. It was fellowship. It was film. It was food. It was friends. And it was fun. And I think that'll be great. So, Rob Evans says his dad was World War II movies. I like those too. Where Eagles Dare, another classic movie if you've ever seen, has like every Hollywood star from the 50s and 60s. But listen, guys, I think we're going to pull the plug there. First of all, want to thank Trey. Trey, you did a fantastic job producing. You did a fantastic job on the air. Sorry if I put you on the spot, but I know you did a fantastic job there. We're gonna do it more. Guys, for all of you listening again, please like, subscribe, share our pages, share our posts. We actually work pretty hard to do the bit of social media that we do. So if you guys can share it, just give a like, share it in your stories. That's a big thing for us. We try to make the clips interesting, and we're thoughts and prayers out to Sheldon. I hope he doesn't need thoughts and prayers. I hope he just needs a little bit of chicken soup. And but yeah, Nasty, we missed you tonight. I missed you. I know Troy missed you, and glad that we have number 3 that could step in. That's great for our team, and it allows us to keep the show rolling. Guys, thanks again. Damon, thanks to all of you for listening. We'll be back next week right here on The Ride.